Now, to slow it down a bit, we're headed into our fourth life element session, but this time we're going to learn about the life element rope team. As Linda shared in her session, the belief behind rope team is to collaborate and connect with others and to build strong communities. Rope teams literally pull us up the mountain. We're roped together to get to the top. The phrase, "it takes a village," holds true to so many things in life. While you can do many things alone, oftentimes it's so much easier when you're doing it with a strong rope team. I don't want to go into too much more detail now. I'm going to let our set of speakers do that. So next, you're going to hear from my colleague, Malia, who's going to talk to you about rope team. And she's going to introduce you to Command Sergeant Major Gretchen Evans and Matt Scott, Paralympian for the USA wheelchair basketball team. Without further ado, Malia, take it away.
Welcome to the Building Up Your Rope Team No Barriers Life session here at the No Barriers Summit. We're all so excited to have you be part of this session today. I'm Malia Michael, the Backcountry Program Coordinator at No Barriers, and I'll be your facilitator as you build up your rope team over the next 55 minutes. Throughout this session, you'll get to hear stories that show you what a real-world rope team looks like in action. You'll meet Command Sergeant Major Gretchen Evans, who is one of the most decorated female veterans in U.S. history. You'll also hear from Matt Scott, an accomplished wheelchair basketball athlete who brought home the gold at the 2016 Paralympic Games in Rio. Through their stories of teams, you'll be inspired to build up your own rope team, and you'll get the opportunity to do that through a guided activity. We'll also take some time to think about your No Barriers pledge and how having a strong rope team can support you to fulfill that pledge. If you have not created a pledge yet, no worries. You get the information you need to develop one. And in this session, you will also have some opportunities to share your thoughts and connect with other participants in the No Barriers community as we utilize the Q&A function for some authentic conversation. So get ready to be inspired, connect with others, and take action as you develop your rope team. To get started, I wanted to give you some context about the No Barriers Life. In case you're not familiar with what this is, the No Barriers Life is a framework made up of 7 elements for breaking through barriers and living a purpose-driven life. This framework comes from decades of No Barriers running programs that push people to explore their own sense of purpose and help them to harness adversity in their own lives and the world into a positive force. Each of the 7 elements focuses on specific strategies and tools that help people to live a No Barriers life. If you want to learn more about the full framework, check out our book called What's Within You, along with many resources and programs highlighted on our website, nobarriersusa.org. In this session, we're diving into the element called rope team, which is all about the importance of having a support system of people you trust. We're there to encourage you to achieve your vision. As you have already heard, we're celebrating No Barriers founder Eric Weimer's historic summit of Mount Everest 20 years ago. Historic in large part because Eric is blind. However, you may not know that Eric's summit was also historic because to this day, his team is the largest team to ever summit Mount Everest. And so the term rope team originally comes from high altitude mountain climbing, where it describes a group of people joined by a climbing rope and thus secured against falling. If a climber slips on a slope, others on the team self-arrest and act as the human anchors to stop the fall, then working together to rescue the fallen climber. So you can see why trusting those who are on your rope team is essential. While you may or may not be setting out to summit a mountain, there are things you can do to understand and build up your rope team, which we'll keep exploring. So as we move through this session, think of a rope team as that core team of people you trust who will be there for you as you face life's challenges and encounter obstacles on the way to your vision. Before we meet our first speaker, let's pause to reflect on this idea of rope team and to connect with others who are part of this session. Let's take a moment to explore a key notion at the core of rope team, which is that it's nearly impossible to achieve your vision or any big goal all by yourself. In a moment, you'll see your prompt to respond to on the screen. To use the Q&A function, type in the box on the side of your screen. Your question to answer in the Q&A is this: what's something you have achieved that you could not have done all by yourself without the help of others? Take about 1 minute to type your answer in the Q&A, and read what others share as well. Thanks so much for sharing. Now let's keep building on those strategies by hearing from our first speaker. I'm so thrilled to introduce you to a very special No Barriers Ambassador, Command Sergeant Major Gretchen Evans, who spent 27 years serving her country, including 9 deployments overseas. Her final assignment took her to the Middle East, where she was responsible for more than 30,000 ground troops in Afghanistan. It was there that Command Sergeant Major Evans was wounded by incoming fire in 2006, incurring life-changing and debilitating injuries that included losing her hearing, suffering a traumatic brain injury, and other internal injuries. Command Sergeant Major Evans is an avid hiker, runner, cyclist, and reader. She published her first book, Leading from the Front, Lessons by Command Sergeant Major, in October 2017, and has received numerous awards for her service and passion to help all veterans live a life of purpose and passion. Gretchen has spoken numerous times to the No Barriers community and actively participated in a variety of programs, doing things like climbing mountains with veterans and traveling through Nepal with students. Her story is featured in the Rope Team chapter of the book, What's Within You. Take it away, Gretchen.
Hi, my name is Gretchen Evans, and I am a No Barriers ambassador. I began my journey with No Barriers about 5 years ago. As a veteran, I went on one of their warrior expeditions, and it was life-changing for me. I took away many things away from the No Barriers expedition, but the thing that I really resonated most with was the concept of having a rope team. When I was in the military, I had rope teams. I didn't call them that. We called them something else, squads or battle buddies or things such as this. In the military, when we were climbing really steep mountains, sometimes we would tie ourselves to each other so that if one of us slipped, we would not fall very far. And the other members of the team would pick in and hold everybody steady until the person who fell got back up instead of falling a great distance, maybe even to their death. No Barriers concept of rope team is finding people around you that are going to support you in the good times and in the bad times, that are going to encourage you to live your best life, that are going to be there with you when you're struggling. And you surround yourself with these people and they are life-changing. It works both ways. It's nice to have a rope team for people around you to help you when you're struggling and when you're celebrating. There's 2 sides to that coin. You are also a member of their rope team, which means that you need to be there for them, to encourage them when they need encouraging and to celebrate their victories along the way. I don't know where I would be in life today if it wasn't for my rope team. We're constantly in contact. We celebrate each other's victories, and we're always pushing each other a little bit to be a little bit better and to give a little bit more back to our communities, to our families, to our nation, and other people around us. I love the concept of a rope team. And if you don't have one, I encourage you to find your special rope team. It can really make a difference in your life. Team Unbroken was the very first totally mixed ability team to ever compete in the world's toughest race that was hosted by Bear Grylls and produced by Mark Burnett. The concept behind Team Unbroken was that regardless of your mixed abilities, disabilities, or illnesses, that these things do not define you or what you're capable of. When I first submitted our application to compete in the world's toughest race, we were told no. They felt like that our injuries would prevent us from competing along elite athletes and possibly even get ourselves hurt. I was persistent, and eventually I convinced the race director, Kevin Hodder, to give Team Unbroken a chance. What I said to him was, just give us the opportunity, put us on the same playing field with everybody else. And if we wash out on the first day, then that's on us. But to shut a door on us and assume that we cannot compete just because we all have disabilities seems a little unfair to me. So Team Unbroken was accepted along with 66 other teams to go and compete in the toughest. The past 18 months, as COVID was running rampant in the United States and abroad, my rope team completely supported me. The hardest thing for me was because I am deaf and I read lips, and everyone was wearing masks. So for the first time since my injury and I learned to lip read, I felt very deaf again. And I was unable to communicate people because their mouths were closed. And so I felt very isolated, and I got frustrated when I couldn't communicate with people. My rope team stepped in and helped me do this by being a translator for me, by communicating with me the best way that they could, the way that, via text or other ways. I couldn't have survived COVID without my rope team. It was one of the hardest 18 months since my injury that I ever had to endure. And was almost depressing to me to feel again that I was deaf. So I'm so grateful that the masks are starting to come off and that we're coming out of this COVID, but I could not have survived without my rope team. Being a member of a rope team is a big responsibility. People are counting on you. When they consider that you are part of their rope team, you're the person that they call in the middle of the night when they need help. You're also the first person they call when something wonderful has happened in their life. It comes with an obligation in a sense, but also it's such a privilege to be a member of a rope team. I encourage you, if you are asked to be a member of a rope team, to take that position with great care. Think about that someone is counting on you to be there and how you can best help them. Sometimes you have to be honest in your evaluation when your rope team member asks you, and there needs to be a confidence and loyalty to each other, that you'll always speak the truth in love when it comes to talking to your rope team members. Sometimes these are the only people who will tell you the truth, and you need those people in your life. It's wonderful to be a part of a rope team because you get to experience summits that people have in their lives. And these summits are things that they have been striving for. And you find yourself on the top of the mountain with other people, and sharing that moment is so much more meaningful than being on top of the mountain all by yourself. I'd much rather climb a mountain with a group of people who I really care about and get up there and do the high fives than to climb the mountain by myself and simply pat myself on the back. So I'm here to tell you that it's wonderful to be part of a rope team and to be a member, but I encourage you, if you get asked, to take that situation and that honor to be a member of the rope team very seriously. Thank you. Let's talk about gratitude to your rope team. You know, it comes with a responsibility, and there's a time commitment. And the way I think you can best show gratitude towards your rope team members is to simply say, thank you for being there for me. And also to tell them how important they are to your life, that you would not be as secure on your path without their support and their care and their loyalty to you and the time that it takes to be in a relationship like a rope team. It's also nice to send them a card every once in a while and say, hey, rope team buddy, I really appreciate what you're doing for me. Or pick up the phone and call them and tell them how much you appreciate them. And also maybe even reach out to their family members and say, I know that being part of my rope team takes time away from your person, but I want you to really know that I appreciate you letting them be part of my rope team. It's important to say thank you, I think, for everybody to know that you are contributing to someone else's life to try to make their life better. And in return, they're helping you. So just a big old thank you, or a hug, or a card in the mail, or a telephone call, I think is really important. Let's not take our rope team members for granted. Let's make sure that they know how important they are in our lives.
Thank you so very much, Gretchen, for being here to share your story and to talk about teams in your life. You're such an extraordinary example of someone who has built strong rope teams, leaned on them to achieve your goals, and collaborated with them to do good in the world. So now it's your turn. This is the part of our session where you get to practice specific ways to build up your own rope team. As we move through this activity, if you are the kind of person who processes by writing or drawing, you may find it helpful to have some paper and a writing utensil nearby. For those of you I just described, let's pause for a moment to let folks grab what they need. Before we get started with our activity, I want to emphasize that rope teams can often be situational. You may very well have some core folks in your life who would be on any team you create, but you might also have different rope teams for different parts of your life or different goals. No matter the team and who is on it, we're going to use the word friend for those people on your team, with the broad definition of who a friend may be depending on the context. But no matter what, the friends on your rope team should be people you trust, who you can count on. So you may have one set of friends on your rope team at work or school, and another in your personal life, and another related to a specific activity you're involved in, or a specific goal you are working on. So again, no matter the situation, we'll refer to the people on your team as friends. We also understand at No Barriers that for some people, identifying friends you trust and asking them for help is not an easy task. This may be true for you, and yet being able to do this and to build a rope team is essential. So as we move into this activity, do your best to be open to the process. This activity is all about rope team roles. To get started, I would like you to identify something you would want to focus on creating a rope team for. If you participated in the vision session today or have done vision work in the past, you may choose to focus on building a rope team specific to your vision. Or if you already created a No Barriers pledge, you may want to build a pledge rope team. You can also think of any task or goal that would be meaningful for you to spend time on today. So let's pause here for you to identify what your rope team will support you to do or to be. If you are comfortable doing so, go ahead and share the focus of your rope team in the Q&A. Now, within your rope team, there are a variety of roles that team members play for you in your friendship, and you for them. So we're going to dig into the types of friends you may consider having on your team. Leaning into our mountain climbing metaphor, at No Barriers, we've identified 4 key types of friends: Sherpas, mountain guides, climbing companions, and the cheer squad. The first type is the Sherpas. The Sherpa people are an authentic group from Nepal who have lived in the high altitude of the Himalayan mountains for generations. Their local expertise has been invaluable for foreigners in the Himalayas. So think of the Sherpas on your team as the experts. This may be someone you already know, or it may be someone you trust to be the source of expertise in the area you need it. So think now about the type of expertise you need on your rope team. Who might fill that role and be a Sherpa on your team? If you're not sure who this person could be, how could you get connected to someone? Take a moment to think about who will fill the Sherpa role on your rope team. You may want to write that person's name down or simply envision that person. Our second type of friend on your rope team is mountain guides. These friends know about the mountain in front of you, but they also know you. They know your unique strengths and weaknesses, and they possess a great sense of how to give you the guidance you need. Think of these friends as coaches or mentors. Take a moment to consider who will fill the mountain guide role on your team. Again, you may want to record this person's name. Our next type of friend is the all-important climbing companions. These friends truly understand how important your vision or your goal is to you, and they are there to support you along the way. They are there to remind you why you took this on and to make sure you know you've got this. These friends may energize you, comfort you, challenge you, and celebrate with you. So who would you like your climbing companions to be? And our last type of friend is the cheer squad. These are those people in your life who provide emotional support and cheer you on. They may not be directly on your journey with you, but even from afar, they are pulling for you and letting you know how much they support you. They celebrate with you and tell your story when you succeed, and they love you all the same when you fail. They keep cheering you on no matter what. So now think about who may fill this role for you. Congratulations! Whether or not you were able to identify people for each role on your team, you developed a greater understanding of the roles people should fill on your rope team, and you started thinking about who those trusted friends may be. No matter how far you got with building your rope team today, I encourage you to keep at it. However much time you need to build your rope team, take the time to do it. And don't skip the important step of talking to your friends about the role you would like them to play. Before we hear from our second guest, let's connect again through a poll. Your question is, which rope team role do you think is the most important for the vision or goal that you chose to focus on? A, Sherpa, B, mountain guide, C, climbing companion, or D, cheer squad? Now we have a very special guest to introduce to you, Matt Scott, a 4-time member of the U.S. Paralympic men's wheelchair basketball team and 2-time medalist, including 1 gold and 1 bronze. He has also been awarded multiple medals at the world championship level. Matt was diagnosed with spina bifida at birth. He began playing wheelchair basketball in 1998, and he was 14 years old. He played through high school before being recruited for the U.S. men's national wheelchair basketball team. Some of the things Matt loves about being an athlete includes problem solving, resilience, determination, and using his voice and sports platform to bring change and positivity to the world. We're so happy to have you with us today, Matt.
Hey, no barriers. My name is Matt Scott. I'm 1/12 of Team USA's gold medal winning wheelchair basketball team, defending the gold medal in Tokyo 2021 this year at the Paralympic Games. And I'm here to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart. As I just mentioned, I'm a member of a team, 1/12 of the team. And team has always been a big, big part of my life. Being a team sport athlete, it gets you from point A to point B when you rely heavily on your teammates, but you also pride yourself on the contribution that you can make. Let me talk to you a little bit about my background. I'm 36 years old. I have spina bifida. I was born with that. It's a congenital birth defect. It's actually the #1 birth defect in the world. It's quite common. I'm affected in my L4, L5 region, and I'm a full-time wheelchair user. If you see me rocking back and forth, I don't have like a cool rocking chair. That's just my wheelchair. And I've actually, that's one of my wheelchairs right there. I'm actually a wheelchair basketball player that represents Team Performax, and been lucky enough to be the logo of that, and have really leaned on that team to get me where I am today. Enough about my background. My athletics background is that I've been part of the U.S. national program since 2003. I made my first U.S. roster, was able to put those beautiful 3 letters across my chest in the red, white, and blue in 2003. I've been representing Team USA in 2004 in Athens, 2008 in Beijing, 2012 in London, 2016 in Rio, where we won a gold medal, and now my 5th games in Tokyo, where we're going to defend our gold medal. So being a team member of a 1/12, representing Team USA, has been my entire life. It's been something that I'm very confident in doing, and it's something that I pride myself very heavily on. But how do I depend on my personal team is that I'm always looking for accountability. My teammates always show me the work that they put into their craft. They show me the work that they're willing to do to help me reach my dreams, and I show them the work that I'm doing that to help them reach their dreams. You know, there's a saying that is like, you know, I need you to be all that you can be so that we can be all that we can be. And I love that saying. It's something that we revisit in the locker room every time we get a chance to, because accountability is so important. And that's one of the biggest attributes that I look for in my team members. And it's not a one-sided thing. I want to see that accountability. I want to see that I can trust my teammates, and I want them to know that they can trust me as well. In a team sport, you always need that. The reason why that's important, the accountability portion, is because of standards. If you have high standards, if you want to reach high goals, if you have lofty goals, if you have something you would like to accomplish in life, and you have teammates that aren't holding themselves accountable and holding themselves to a gold medal standard, is what I would like to call it, then you can't get there. You have to be responsible enough to hold yourself accountable, but you also have to have the pride in your teammates and have the trust in your teammates to hold them accountable as well. Trust and accountability. Those are things I'm going to keep revisiting because they're very important attributes. So how do I show up for my rope team? I've always been someone that has really prided himself on the contribution that I can make. As an athlete, I've really, I'm getting into the gym and I'm working out as hard as I can. I'm trying to make my performance the best that I could possibly make for my team. But I'm going to talk to you about something that is a little bit vulnerable for me. It's a time that I really needed my team in order to bounce back. And this was completely off the floor. About 2 years ago, I was unlucky enough to have a pressure sore that went septic, and I slipped into a septic shock. I had multi-organ failure. Both of my lungs went out and one of my kidneys. And I was very, very near to my death. I was very, very close to not being able to speak to you all today about my experiences because of that septic shock. That was a time when my team not only saw about me, they saw the problem. They saw how hard I fell and how long of a journey it was going to be for me to get back into a condition that I could contribute to a team again. Because when I woke up from the coma that I was in for 7 days, I couldn't hold a glass of water. And that's when I became very scared, and I became very, as I say, vulnerable. But when my teammates realized what had happened to me, I was able to lean on them for support. I was able to lean on them for strength. I was able to lean on them for guidance. And that's when I knew that this was bigger than sports. This is something bigger than going to play a basketball game, or it's bigger than winning medals or accolades. This is my true team, my rope team. They really got me from being a bedridden hospital patient to now I'm here. I'm being able to speak to you, and I'm preparing for my world, my life's dream to be a back-to-back Paralympic gold medalist. And I would not have that opportunity hadn't it been for my team members. The thing about team, whenever I see a teammate down, I'm the first one to, try to give them a hand up. And that could be physically or that could be mentally. We all need to be there for our teammates. We can always see when someone slips, and that slip doesn't always have to be physical. My slip was physical, and my teammates saw it, and I really had to rely on them. And it wasn't just the teammates that are on the floor. This was coaching staff. This was staff members, from nutritionists to strength and conditioning coaches to even mental health coaches. They all got me to the point where I was able to build myself back up, and I'm able to smile and give this testimony to you about how I'm going to defend this gold medal. Because 2 years ago, I did not think that was going to be possible. And the reason why it's possible is because I have such a strong team. I look for I look for certain qualities in my rope team. As I mentioned earlier, that accountability and trust is super important, super important. But I like to feed off of positive energy. I like my teammates to be optimists. I like them to see what is possible and want them to achieve that. I'm my worst around pessimism. I am my worst around pessimism. I am my best around optimism and people that want to strive and be the best. And my teammates know that. And I surround myself by people that fuel me, that want to reach the very, very top. I have very high standards for who is going to be a part of my rope team. And it's not always about having the biggest team. I don't want so many people around. I don't need any more than those guys in my locker room. Whenever I'm on the floor or off the floor, I know that I can reach out to them about anything. If I want to be a better basketball player, if I want to be a better athlete, if I want to be a better man, better brother, better son, I could lean on these guys as my rope team. And, I just mentioned, being a brother, being a son, being a part of a family. That's another rope team that has really gotten me where I am today. My mother is the strongest team captain that I have ever met, the strongest woman I've ever known. And anytime that I need guidance, I always look to her. Having a leader, having a strong leader in your rope team is one of the things that I look for. Because if you can't be that leader, you should always look to the people that have those attributes and those qualities that can be a leader and learn from them. Learn from them. There doesn't always have to be one leader in the group. I think leadership is so important because when things get hard, when things get tough, and you get put in these vulnerable positions, maybe positions that you don't see yourself getting out of. They could be very dark. They could be very trying. They could be very troublesome, and the adversity could be so high. But when you have a leader that believes in you, when you have a leader that can take you and look you in your eyes and tell you that they have your back 100%, you know everything's going to be okay. I really, when I speak about team, I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps every time because I love the guys that I play with. I love my rope team of Team USA basketball players, and I love my rope team that's my family. There's so many different ways that you can define your inner circle. My inner circle are optimists. My inner circle fuel me. My inner circle I can trust. They're admirable, and they're people that lead me to the places that I want to go. And anytime that there's weak links in that chain, I don't feel bad about trying to bring other people up to that level of camaraderie, that level of leadership. And if they fall behind, I sometimes have to let that circle get a bit smaller. That rope team has to be strong, and it has to have those attributes that I talked about. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you today. As I told you, my rope team has been everything. They have gotten me to this point where I'm able to speak to you today, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Matt Scott, and I hope you check me out at the Paralympic Games in Tokyo this year. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing with us how you have built strong rope teams in your life. Speaking of taking positive action, in this final section of our session, we're going to turn our attention to the No Barriers Pledge, a commitment to take positive action in your life and in the world. When you registered for the summit, as part of your registration, you were prompted to create your own No Barriers Pledge. In case you missed this, pledges are part of No Barriers traditions and this summit. A pledge is your commitment to your continued progress towards your vision by identifying one goal that you can achieve in the next 2 to 3 months. If you already submitted a pledge to No Barriers, thank you. We hope the summit is inspiring you and giving you strategies and tools to be able to complete your pledge. If you did not already create and submit a pledge, then it's not too late. Use your summit experience to create a pledge that is meaningful to you. Then go to our breakout room to submit your pledge so we can see what you're up to. After you share your pledge, we'll send you a virtual No Barriers flag that you can print and write your pledge on so you can post it as a reminder to yourself. You'll also be entered to win one of 40 coupons worth $500 awarded by our partner and rope team member Airbnb. Whether it shows up through your pledge or in your daily life, or both, I hope this session gave you some inspiration and tools for living a No Barriers life. To help reinforce all that you experienced here and to connect with other participants, I have a final reflection question for you to answer in the Q&A. In addition to answering the question, be sure to read what others have to say. Your question is, what is the biggest takeaway about being on a rope team that you want to remember from this session? Thank you so much for being a part of the Building Up Your Rope Team session. Remember that if you want to learn more about all 7 elements of the No Barriers life, you can get the book, What's Within You, and also check out all of our resources and program offerings at www.nobarriersusa.org. And as an immediate opportunity, be sure to join us at the summit closing ceremony, where you'll learn more about the element called Elevate and hear from world-class violinist Adrian and Antoine. See an equestrian ballet, hear from J.R. Martinez, and listen to a concert from Mandy Harvey.
Thank you, Malia, Gretchen, and Matt, for all of your great thoughts about rope team and what it means to you. I hope you chose your why for your rope team. Why did you choose your specific rope team? And who's on it? Is it a friend, colleague, parent, coach, pastor, or even someone you just met? Tell us in the chat right now who's on your rope team and why. Right now, all of you who are watching are rope team members. While we may be separate in distance, we are all here with the same goal in mind. By posting your answer in the chat, you might help another person find more members for their rope team. Another way is to share what you're striving to accomplish on our social media. Don't forget to share. So let's see those homemade drums, those pledges. Let's see some smiling faces. Whatever you're doing right now, share it with us using @NoBarriersUSA on Facebook and Instagram and the hashtag #NoBarriersSummit. A few quick announcements before we get to our next activity. I want to make sure you check out those expo booths from our amazing sponsors. There are resources, videos, information, and you can even sign up for the Wells Fargo Career Fair through their booth. The Career Fair is going to be held on Monday, so make sure you get signed up. There are tons of things to do within the platform, so be sure to check it all out. Also, as a reminder that if you've missed a session or want to rewatch something from this year's summit, we encourage you to sign up for our No Barriers membership community. That's our rope team. It's a membership community that includes great courses, fun events, exclusive in-person experiences, recordings of past events. I hope you consider joining that community.
You know, when we have triumphs, right, when we stand on the top and we come back, it's hard to describe those victories, but when we struggle, right, it's a uniting energy.
It's not about climbing one mountain, it's about making a catalyst of change. For me, I'm a musician. I happen to be deaf, and that's just part of who I am. Whether or not I'm seen as a person with a quote-unquote disability or not has nothing to do with how I feel inside.
I was in a car accident January 15th of 2018. After the accident, I was in the ICU for a month, unresponsive, and then a long-term acute care facility for 2 months, just starting to wake up.
About 6 years or so ago, I started experiencing chronic pain and difficulty walking. And like everyone, I thought it would go away. And it did not go away, and it got worse. So I started to seek answers. And that kept me stuck for years. I wanted to give up. And my friend made me promise to stick around for 6 months. And that was in that time I found No Barriers. That changed my perspective, changed my paradigm, changed how I looked at what I had to offer.
We're all part of this No Barriers Club, no matter, you know, who you are or what abilities you're given, you're gonna struggle.
Okay.
You're parched, might have low oxygen, you might, feel like you're gonna fall off the side of a cliff. People helping me might be like, feel that pressure of making sure that I'm safe.
People are walking down a set of stairs for the first time and they said, that's my Everest. Or they're figuring out new ways to deal with pain, new therapies, or they're cranking up the mountain with their arms. They never thought they could do that, and that's their Everest. So the idea came from that, this idea that everyone has an Everest in their life, and this day is sort of a metaphor for that.
It's about doing what you can with what you have. It doesn't matter what's wrong with you. It matters what are you going to do about it.
These events are really important to my recovery and other people's recovery because they lift your spirits.
It is struggle. It's not easy, but it's through those challenges that we come together. So be vulnerable, take the leap. This is where people will catch you.
No barriers means going after what you want 100%.
I have a passion and a love for no barriers, but also for people who are constantly pushing the envelope to show that, you know, all of those barriers and the brokenness of who you are has nothing to do with your potential.
Are you ready?
I ended up surrounding myself with the people who lifted me up, and I call that my chosen family. People I know I can count on.
I want to walk unassisted by the end of the year, and I think I'm well on my way. So it's all about finding new ways to do things.
My Everest is being vulnerable.
My Everest is getting back to life like it was before the accident.
My Everest is encouraging other people to look past their barriers and to realize that they're not alone, and that failure can be a beautiful start of a new beginning.
My name is Barbara Henry. I am coming to the No Barriers Summit from Rhode Island, and I am blind. When I was born, my spinal fluid leaked, and it was going to my brain, so I could have had more complications. It could have affected my mobility in terms of walking, speech. So about 1.5 years ago, I started challenging myself and doing things outside of my comfort zone. And my friend gave me an email about the No Barriers Summit. The world's not going to come to me. I have to get out into the world. I have to be a part of the world. If I don't come to this event, the event's not going to come to me. Coming to the No Barriers Summit, I was just so excited. The short time that I've been here so far, just meeting various people and talking to them about their life stories, it just represents just inner strength and perseverance. This weekend with the No Barriers Summit, I climbed a rock wall, which I have never done, and I reached the top and rung the bell. I went scuba first time in a swimming pool. I went sailing. I've never sailed before. And today I rode a bicycle outside for the first time in my life. That was great. I just took off. So that was a lot of fun. I didn't understand why everybody was like, wow, you never rode a bike before? it didn't hit me, you know. I was with a group, and everybody just stopped and said, "You never rode a bike?" And then when I got on the bike, I wasn't even scared. I just did it. I just rode, and I felt like an eagle. I felt like I was just soaring through the sky. And I'm not ashamed at all of being blind. I'm not. But in that moment, I didn't feel blind. I feel this experience has made me to focus on looking forward and not to focus on challenges that have occurred in your life in the past. Just try to focus on the present and be positive about the future.
When the cruel winds of life knock us down and make us feel small, let go. Reach beyond what you know. When uncertainty paralyzes our spirit and the shame of our scars crushes all hope, look inside. Find that hidden light. For it is our many falls that fuel our rise. Together, we climb, fearless and unstoppable. Because what's within us is stronger than what's in our way.
Our lives are kind of like a storm. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a total whiteout in the mountains. Now, I can't see anyway, even in good weather, but my friends, somebody needs to be able to see and they can't. It's just total whiteout. Well, what is the tool that you use to navigate? I think our vision is like an internal compass. It guides us through that storm. It tells us where we're going and why it's so important that we get there. I think vision is figuring out what grows the light inside. I think it's really about connecting with our very deep core values and understanding what those values are. When we live in alignment with those values, that light will blaze and it will show us the way. And it's not about what's out here, it's about illuminating what we have inside.